Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the North American Challenger League Winter Playoffs. My name is Reed Rapid Melton. With me is Chase, and we're getting ready for a whole new season of NACL.
Yes, we're down here in the AFK Gamer Lounge in downtown San Jose. Here opening on New Year's Eve, December 31st of this year. We have an 8-team tournament there worth $15,000 in prize money, and we're even flying out 3 teams, right?
That's right. They'll be coming here for a live grand finals on New Year's Eve, so it's going to be a spectacular event here at the AFK Gamers Lounge, like you said, in downtown San Jose. But it's not the same NACL. We do have a few differences for this season, so there will be a little bit of adjustment. And of course, probably the biggest difference this season is going to be the introduction of a brand new pick and ban phase. If you come from other MOBAs, then you'll probably recognize it as a captain's draft. It's not just going to be 3 bans per team, it's going to be 5 bans per team. And of course, it'll start off with 3 bans for both sides, then 3 picks for both sides. Then we'll go into 2 more bans to round it off, and then of course the final 2 picks for both sides. We'll be hopping through them one right after another, so you get the idea. We'll be banning a few more champions, so it should kind of mix up the champion pools a little bit. We'll be digging a little bit deeper, but it's going to be exciting to see how teams adapt to this kind of new style of pick and ban phase. But it's not just about the pick and ban phase. There's a whole host of new teams coming our way tonight, Chase.
Yes, there are 8 teams. Up first, we have Final 5 versus Storm, but after that, we have Ignition, Inertia, Cognitive Gaming, Complexity, Zenith Esports, and Enemy Esports. And just like you said, a lot of deeper picks. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to have to get deep in that pocket for to look for. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, speaking of pockets, a lot of pocket picks may be coming out that you wouldn't expect to see banned, but I'm really excited to see a more diverse champion pool. And so we should actually be able to jump into picks and bans here in just a second. And especially interesting, at least for me to see, is going to be the I want to say mid lane matchups, just because I feel like that's maybe a discrepancy that Storm actually would have in their favor, just because Mandatory Cloud has got a host of LCS experience, and Gate, mid laner for Final 5, still has yet to prove himself when they get into that LCS. Of course, that's where both of these teams are at least looking to go at one point or another. So while the mid lane matchup may be in favor of Storm, Final 5 have a couple of sources of strength on their rosters as well. Ruck's up in the top lane. He's been all-around Team Curse Academy, and actually just came here off of, I believe, Coast. And when he became a free agent, they decided to form the Final 5 team and made it back past even their expectations, going beyond the Final 5 into the Final 4 of the LCS expansion tournaments. So I'm excited to see how far they can go here in this tournament, NACL. We're starting things off with them tonight in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching Prototype White at the AD carry position for Final 5. He really is impressive to play. We'll see if any Vaynes or Jinxes are banned in the upcoming stages. It should be very interesting to see what he goes for. The laning phase in this game could definitely determine where the rest of it's going to go. Yeah,
definitely, especially since he does tend to play more late game AD carry kind of champions, and we're in a very early game AD carry kind of mode. So excited to see how that does work out. At least for him, unique point for him is he usually runs Exhaust as an AD carry. This makes it a lot easier to peel for bruisers, avoid a lot of burst damage, but it is a style that pretty much only he utilizes. So interesting to see, and we'll see if that works out.
It's definitely helpful in the one-on-ones, especially when chasing. We'll see how that pans out for us.
All right, now you may be able to, as we're looking through picks and bans, it appears as if there's an Aatrox in the AD carry position for Prototype White. That is unfortunately not an Aatrox, as much as I would love to see that. We're not digging quite that deep into the champion pool. That's actually a Jinx in there, and so for some reason it has been changed up just a little bit. So
I doubt we'd see that.
You say that, but maybe some interesting champion choices.
It's a little too deep in the pocket for me. I like to experiment, but not like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of experimenting myself, but probably not on Aatrox 80 carry. So with Aatrox being Jinx, that's going to be a Jinx Janna lane, and I actually expected to see Jinx out of the other side of the champion pool. It's XP Cake's main champion. Nobody associates any champion quite as much with XP Cake as Jinx, although picked your ban in every single game. Most recently this weekend in Intel Extreme Masters San Jose was Corki. Corki Lucian. It's kind of the way that you'll see almost every game go for 80 carries, but banning the Lucian, picking the Corki, already a very solid phase here for Storm.
Yeah, I really like to see this top lane about who's going to bruise it out. We have Maokai, who's becoming a really big and popular pick these days, especially with the new 4.20 patch. And then we have Gnar, who's becoming increasingly good at the top lane, one of the more new characters. His transform is incredible. The amount of tank and sustain he has, especially in the laning phase, and just the diversity of the slow up top and his movement speed. It's incredible to watch, and we'll see how that range tries to fight against Maokai's saplings when he's definitely try to see who's going to have the first tower down on that situation.
Yeah, definitely. Two of the classic top laners. Interesting to see that out of all top lane bans, because we have almost twice as many bans as you were expecting, that Gnar was not banned. He got a little bit nerfed before this patch, but he's still incredibly strong top lane. And I'm just excited to see how that works out against Maokai, who is very vulnerable to being harassed down early on before he gets all of those tank stats. Another interesting pick to talk about as far as mid lane is concerned is that while Gate is traditionally he's a big Twisted Fate player, as you may be able to tell from his name. His game tonight will be played with Twisted Fates, so a lot of association with the name. We'll see if it works out. Versus Mandatory Cloud's Orianna. It's always been one of his stronger champions, but is always considered as kind of the AFK farm, not really super offensive, super aggressive, more of a supported mid laner. We'll see how that ball delivery system works with Doom Trobo. It's actually going with Vi this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Mandatory Cloud Shockwave from Orianna is going to be huge late game. It could definitely decide some of the later matches with the incredible crowd control ability that Orianna gets, especially with that control of the ball. I'm wondering how well that's going to be. What do you think about the new jungle in the new patch? I mean, Warwick is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. New jungle means you need a little bit of sustain to make it through, because it is quite literally a monster, or several of them to be accurate. And while Warwick does have a lot of that sustain, maybe a little bit less there for Vi, who will be using a blast shield for a little bit of extra sustain, taking a little bit of less damage. So that's going to do it for our champion picks and bans. It's an interesting phase, but for our first game, we're going to take a small break while we load in. So big things to watch out for, at least between these two teams, will be a ton of comfort picks over on Final 5 versus a very unique style of jungle with the combo. You got Vi delivering the ball system in. It's something that I'm not used to seeing. Vi not as much sustain as a lot of other junglers, so maybe your first clear is going to be a little bit rough, could delay those early ganks, and might create a big discrepancy that Shorter Ace on one of the strongest junglers right now, Warwick, might be able to exploit.
And especially you can exploit from Warwick that pre-level 6 phase in the laning. He really doesn't have much ganking potential until he gets that ulti up. And really, we're going to see a lot of aggression early on, and I don't think Warwick's going to add that much to it then.
Yeah, exactly. If you put pressure on when it's early, Final 5 might fall a little bit further behind. But as we load into the game, I'm excited for a brand new season of NACL. It's been a little bit of time since the last one, but with a little bit of a new phase, we're coming at it from a whole new direction. So excited to get things underway with our first game of the night. We have Final 5 versus Storm, and of course you can't have a good Storm without Clouds, and that's what's in the mid lane here tonight for Storm. It's where I'm going to be putting a lot of focus, even if it's not with the camera, a lot of my attention is going to be there. Mandatory Cloud, haven't actually seen him out on the Rift. Both teams get out there in a while. He was the mid laner for Curse Academy for a while and never really saw all that much play before they picked up Kian for their mid lane. And he's been trying to get into a bunch of different teams. It was applying for CLG's mid position, which, as we all know, has been filled by Link, most recently announced. So here he is on Storm. It's a new game, new team, and we're looking to get that underway here in just a minute. So 30 seconds in. Who's going to win the game?
I mean, I don't know. I really like Final 5.
You can't tell who's going to win off the first 30 seconds.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, we got the saplings coming out, Gnar running away. I mean, the minions haven't even clashed yet, so it's anyone's game at this point. But I really like Final 4. They're just really fun to watch, and especially, I mean, I like their team compositions in general, and I really just don't know what's going to happen yet. But my soul's with but definitely with Final 5.
Yeah, Final 5 in the Final 4 of the LCS expansion tournament. You have to be pretty good to get there. And with a relatively impressive win streak all the way up there, their play against Complexity was not the most difficult, at least for them, evidenced by the games themselves. But they'll have their hands full in the next round of the expansion tournament coming up in the weekend. So this is a little bit of practice for them, of course, versus Storm. And for Storm, it's their first little bit of practice. So excited to see how they match up. It's my first time casting them. So mandatory Cloud in the mid lane, already going to hit a couple of auto attacks early, but early wards in the mid lane mean nothing crazy's happening overall. No jungle invades, just going to be safe blue buff starts for both jungles.
Yeah, this is my first time casting Mandatory Cloud as well. Let's see if it rains it pours in that middle lane. I'm really interested to see. Of course, now with the new jungle, we start with the Toad instead of the blue buff for Vi, excuse me. We'll see how that ends up. Looks like Soraka's getting caught.
Yeah, Baby Eater eating a little bit more than he asked for. Taken down below half health before the lane even starts. And while traditionally you expect to see side laners start with those side lane camps in the jungle, whether it's the Krugs or the Gromp, I don't know if you guys are members of hashtag Team Gromp or Team Krug. I remember Azumokidi and Pyro talking about that in the LCS expansion broadcast. I myself am a member of Team Krug, but neither of those side camps being taken early on, and while Baby Eater might have sacrificed some of his health pool, he did stop those side camps from being.
Definitely. Well, the Soraka sustain and the Jaina movement is definitely going to be an interesting bottom lane matchup here. Twisted Fate getting some early damage on Orianna, but her shield to just give her that sustain that she needs to keep laning.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a sustain, it's just a way of blocking out damage. Bottom lane, even with the same shield, Rule 18 having a little bit of trouble blocking out quite as much damage. And of course, that is mostly because she's laning against the Soraka. And while Soraka may not have infinite health for herself, does have a lot for the AD carry just laning with. As long as you can hit those star calls, you got a lot of it coming back.
I forget what patch it was, but she was used to able to heal herself even.
She's also used to be able to give herself mana, so you just sit bottom lane and you give yourself mana, you give the other guy health over and over again, and you know, things like words like balance and fairness are closely associated with that patch. But in fact, the next patch, 4.21, actually, patch notes released today, they're going to be further nerfing Soraka, lowering her base regen stat just a little bit, so she doesn't have quite as much health going on during the early phase of the game. And that's where we're at, nothing too conclusive, but you can see the lane be a little bit in favor of Storm.
Still a pretty typical start for us in this League of Legends tournament. No deaths, no steals, nothing going on, just traditional laning and sitting by the tower. We see Lorlo is playing a little bit back on Gnar. He seems to be getting a little aggressive. I think we could have seen that coming a little bit.
Definitely. Maokai as a tank, you can always pick ranged versus tanky bruisers top lane. Early on, it's going to be in Gnar's favor. Just get the harass down, and especially if you want to, if you get engaged on and you turn into Mega Gnar, you're able to just fight straight up as a tank too. So very versatile. It's one of the reasons Gnar is so good top lane. You can basically play him into anything, and he's going to have options.
Yeah, it is incredible, and that's what makes him such a great new addition to the League of Legends character roster, is that mix of range. And if you get that ulti off in Mega Gnar mode on all 4, even 5 members of the team, that stun is just unstoppable for any type of crowd control in this game.
Yeah, it's pretty monstrous. Speaking of crowd control, we got our first gank. Top lane onto Rux, Sapling's coming in. It's going to follow him. There's a flash, last auto attack. First blood for Lorlo.
And Vi easily tanks that turn as they get him blocked out of position.
Now bottom lane, we're going to see XPK going in with the, I think it's 1100 moves, or projectile speed on that phosphorus bomb being nerfed next patch, so it's not quite as good at trading in lane. But the big difference, like we said, Prototype White likes to play hyper carry, and in a meta dominated by Lucian and Corki, is that the right attitude to go with? We're going to see a Trinity Force power spike for XPK that is going to blow Prototype White out of the water as far as damage for that time of the game. If it gets late enough, Prototype will be able to hard carry things out, and we've seen a lot of games get late. Is this advantage going to be strong enough for XPK to make a big enough dent in the early game to keep Storm alive.
I don't know. Once Jinx gets that BF sword, she is certainly a force to be reckoned with here. But you're right, that Trinity force is just is incredible. I mean, especially with Corki, that's always been his starting item.
We're going for the wraparound, bouncing on top
twice
of
in a row.
Unfortunately, Directed Camera doesn't consider that top lane very exciting because bottom lane we got a gank coming in too. Shorter Ace pulling off the infamous, never before seen pre-6 Warwick gank. It looks like
Incredible.
It pays off. Of course, Gate, once again, without his gank. This is a pre-6 gank from Warwick and Twisted Fate. That's a sentence I don't have to say all that often. It works out. Now 2-1 in favor of Final Five.
And believe it or not, Rux was able to get out of that gank from Vi up top. He's trying to work with his tower to get this minion cloud out of here. We'll see how it goes. V sticking around there. They might tank the turret. There's Twisted Advance.
If it's just a 2v1, and wisely enough with lore low, out of mana, so he can't deal the damage, but he can actually get underneath the turret, tank it out. He'll make it out of there alive. Gate, like we said, pre-level 6, so they don't have to worry about that global map pressure from Twisted Fate coming in and screwing up their dive.
Do you think it was right for Nard to go ahead and stay by that turret? Or do you think he should have gone back? I really don't know. That was kind of a bold position with Vi still in the mix up top.
Right, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Either you back off your turret, take a ton of time to get back to base, and lose all that CS, or you stay at your turret, risk dying, and still losing the CS. So it's a rough place to be in, and a lot of pressure going on that Gnar. Tanks can tank a lot of turret shots, but they can't really deal a lot of damage. That's why you pick Doom Trobo on a more aggressive style of jungle, but with a lot less sustain. That's why you see him out of the jungle, in the lane, putting his damage to use instead of maybe being a little bit of a disadvantage versus Shorter Ace's Warwick, who has by far the sustain.
I mean, you can definitely tell they're singling out Nard, making sure he doesn't get too powerful early on at the top lane.
We have a little bit of a pause here coming in. Still waiting to see exactly what the issues are for that. But at least for the meantime, like you said, singling out Gnar, yeah, a lot of focus. I like to call those kind of NASCAR ganks. Doom Trobo, he comes into the top lane, goes for a gank, and then exercises his incredible ability to turn to the left and or the right, depending on which side of the hemisphere you're on. I'm just kidding. I don't think NASCAR works quite that way. But either way, and then you just keep turning in circles, ganking the same lane over and over again, and eventually Rux just starts sobbing uncontrollably, and at that point, it's a big success. Effective strategy for solo queue as well. The more you make one lane cry, the more you put that pressure out onto the rest of his team, and rage quitting and all kinds of stuff like that.
Speaking of rage quitting, it looks like we may have lost Baby Eater already. Not having a bad game so far. We're only 7.5 minutes in. Let's hope they can come back with. Oh, she's reconnected.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Say, usually it happens the other way, where the Soraka player makes the other team cry. But he unfortunately having some connection issues. He'll be back into the game and should be getting started here in just a minute. But
so do you think because of Vi's play, Warwick's going to tend towards the bottom and try to single out the 80 carries down there?
Well, in general, if you could pick a lane to gank with Warwick pre-6, it would literally be anywhere, because that just doesn't happen. So if you have success early on in the bottom lane, that might be a good place to go back to, and especially with Prototype White picking a more late game oriented AD carry, putting that pressure on early with the jungle ganks, especially with Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is a champion almost designed to gank the bottom lane, because if you're a jungler, you're coming out not as strong as the lane you're ganking, especially in a, going up against two champions instead of just one in the duo lane. You put yourself at a lot of risk of just running in and dying. So with Twisted Fate coming in, you got your help from on high, and Gate, using that ultimate. Haven't seen it just yet. That is, you gotta give some credit to Mandatory Cloud for that, continuing to push the lane, keep Twisted Fate mid.
Definitely. Well, it's going to be a different game once Warwick gets to level 6 and Twisted Fate is able to teleport. We'll see how that plans out. He does have a summoner spell for dash, though, which gives him extra mobility after that. Definitely going to see some action there. Can't wait to see what Gate does.
Man, you can really feel for Rux. He's so cute, but he's so annoying if he gets ahead. That's why being behind, just as annoying in the other direction. He's CSing with boomerangs, he can't get into range. Otherwise, Lorlo just going to jump right down on top of him. And already interesting to see, not going for the more aggressive Maokai builds with a Rod of Ages. He's actually moving it back a little bit to some new itemization. He's already picked up a little bit more than what you expect early on. Going with the Crystalline Bracer for extra health and regen. Will eventually move into,
Oh, there's, wow.
Yeah.
There's that Warwick ult there. Let's see if they can get the stun off. Oh, they're just going to run away because they see Mayo with that ward.
Yeah, no questions asked about the retreat there. Shorter Ace had a good ultimate, but ultimately 3v2, not numbers you're really looking to fight with. And that's big ults down for both junglers, and as sort of wombo combo related ult bots, you really won't see too much effectiveness out of them outside of their ultimates. Maybe Vi has the ganking potential, but whoa, Rug's getting a nice
under the turret. Does he get a turret shot? He does.
Yeah,
but
couple of turret shots.
Still so tanky already, level 7.
Yeah, exactly. And Rug's really good positioning there. He's trying to do his best in the lane to keep things even. And not only has he had a sustained advantage, or disadvantage, item disadvantage, level disadvantage, he's also had CS disadvantage. So you're not going to use the word ahead in Rux's favor for the time being, at least. But he is farming things up relatively well, given his circumstances, having been dove, I think, 3 times already. So he'll have a Brutalizer first, which is the traditional Gnar build, and then look to spank tanky after that.
Definitely. The 0-2 start, he's not looking at that with a lot of happiness there. He's definitely looking to come back. But here, I'm really curious to see if Jinx capitalizes on the lack of a Trinity Force from Corki. They do have a lot more damage. I just think they're going to stick under the turret and play it safe, though, for now.
Well, you know, white doesn't really, it's not the color of, storminess. You never look up and see, big white fluffy clouds and think, well, it's going to be terrible weather today. So looking to keep things as shiny as possible down there. Whereas, the clouds themselves, mandatory cloud, he's mid, and you can see he was pressuring very, very
there's the Twisted Fate ultimate
to keep Gate from getting one of those off, and he actually times it out. So no first teleport there from Twisted Fate. And that's actually a big, big deal. I remember in one of the first how-to videos that Messiah, legendary Twisted Fate player from China, made. He's widely considered best Twisted Fate player for a long time. Said, hey, if your first 2-3 games with teleport don't work, then you're gonna have a bad time because your window to impact the game closes very, very quickly, as do apparently the gates. And he ran out of that cooldown quickly enough. Now he's pinging out jungle pressure mid. He knows what's up there. And a really good strategy here from Storm to put so much pressure mid that TF can't even use his ultimate to have an impact on the rest of the match.
Already, Vi is having such a bigger impact on the game than Warwick. I'm really curious just to see when the first dragon are going to be. With that stacking dragon buff, it really changes the game. They're both hanging on around there. We'll see how that first dragon ends up.
Yeah, keep in mind for the next patch, a lot of changes for Dragon. They're changing the buffs, the orders, the bonuses come in. But for at least for right now, you can juggle aggro on the Dragon. Oh, flash
ult in. 4-on-1, I'll just absolutely almost an insta-kill on that.
Yeah, no questions asked. Shorter Ace with a perfect setup. And now the rest of his team won't quite have the follow-up.
Misses the rocket.
Ambitious decision-making there from Prototype White. If he'd hit the rocket, probably still wouldn't have gone in for a kill. But a nice dodge there from Baby Eater. Still going to give Final 5 the pressure they need to take the first dragon of the game.
That 8% attack and ability power is definitely a good boost in the laning phase. And there's blue team getting it.
And if you think it's a boost in the lane phase, just imagine what it does later on. 8%, of course it is percentage, it scales up over time. So while you may not have a lot of stats early, you're going to have them later on, and it just means that you can get to AP and AD levels you really couldn't before. I keep looking down at my champion when I get to late game now. I'm just like, I could never used to get quite that much AD or AP, and then I remember, hey, we've got Dragon buff helping us out.
Well, let's see if Final 5 can stack that dragon higher. That 8% only gets equaled out if Storm were to take the next dragon, which is not for a while. So we'll definitely see what happens. Again, Storm slightly behind in gold, nothing too significant, and behind by 1 kill.
Yeah, and maybe a few clouds in their forecast, giving that first dragon away. Might not make a big difference right now, but as you said, as the game goes on, it's going to keep scaling up with that percentage. Shorter Ace, more importantly, maybe first ult didn't work out. Second one was great coordination with the rest of Final 5. It's not. It's a great way to shot call and say, hey, look, this is where we're going in. Speaking of which, we got Gate throwing out a stun card right on top of that.
TP from Gnar as well. Rux coming in. Let's see if he can get into Mega Gnar before he dies. Oh, guess.
Whoa! Very low health. He's kiting back to the back of the Dragon Pit. So he'll be safe for now, but Gate completely out of mana. Needs to lock a card, just goes for the flash. Rux is waiting for his hop cooldown.
Double flash out of the Dragon Pit.
He's not going to be able to bounce out of there. So yeah, like you said, 2 flashes used. Engage. They're on to Prototype White. He's forced to flash away as well.
Flash to a flash.
trading those out. And now overall, you know, a lot of resources used there by Final Five, but they were able to pick up that dragon. Just kind of got cornered a little bit in the pit.
Yeah, and only a 1-0 trade in Final Five's favor. So we will see if Storm can make a comeback here in the early game. Doesn't look like they're that behind anyways, though. Only by the 1.4K.
Yeah, exactly. And while we are still in the early game, it's not going to last forever. Turret kill gives that reset, getting excited. Not just Prototype White, but maybe the rest of her team putting on that pressure, forcing XP and Baby Eater way too far away from their turret. Actually able to pick up a kill on the Baby Eater. Didn't catch that quite on the screen. Short Rays coming back in again. Does not have his ultimate in a very vulnerable place. Shockwave going down. A smite on the Mandatory Cloud. Doesn't deal that much damage.
Nope.
Mandatory Cloud goes for the solo and gets it. Short Rays a little bit out of position.
Yeah, definitely out of position there. And I mean, we'll see what happens with Prototype White here. Oh, wow.
Going for the blue buff steal, but might be stealing their lives. Zap avoided by Doom Trouble. Nice micro away from that, and as Rule 18 throws his effort backwards, might be able to stop this. He's going for a Q. Unless he can flash Q this, it's not going to work out. No. Tried to get the ball in position, but no Orianna will just use that to kill Short Rays a few seconds.
Good thing for that Jaina movement speed. What do you think about Prototype White not going for an exhaust and going for a heal instead? What do you think the thought process behind that
Yeah, it's a little
is?
bit like, you guys remember way back in the day, there's a guy named Silsal, rank 1 for a while. Everybody was really angry about that because he didn't use Flash, he used Heal Ignite. It's like if you saw him running, you know, like Teleport Clarity. It's like, what? Is that the same player? I don't know. But for Prototype White, it is a little bit of a different summoner spell usage. I think it's great. That's what most people run.
Oh, Rux caught out of position here.
Oh, and there's the gate top lane.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What he thought was a gank turned into a 2-on-1 immediately. He's not escaping out of this anytime soon.
He does get the Gnar against the wall, and this is what we're talking about with Rux. You can try to put him down early, but Gate doing a great job about turning around losing lanes. We had the first gank bottom lane worked out even before he had his Gate up. And while he will lose his turret from leaving his lane, he'll keep Rux in the game, giving him his second kill. Of course, 2 kills apiece for Twisted Fate as well. And they'll be able to take a turret counter kill off the back of that, keeping ahead in the turret score of 3-1.
And also ahead in the overall kill score, 6-3. Slowly, it seems like Final Five's getting an advantage in this game. We'll see if that continues. We need to see more from Vi, definitely, but great presence by Gate overall.
Exactly, and the word presence kind of goes hand in hand with Twisted Fate, getting off those teleports early on. Definitely impacting the course of the game, and 2-0, the same score that Prototype White has. Carry department, it's fully stocked. They just got new inventory in. It's all out on the shelves, and definitely one of the sources of strength for Final Five. You got to look towards the other side of the team too. Lorelo 2-1, and he does already have a brand new item for this patch, the Righteous Glory. It's kind of like a Shirelia's Reverie and a Randuin's Omen all in one. By Shirelia's Reverie, I mean the Talisman of Ascension, but let's just be real, it's Shirelia's Reverie. So it gives you the AoE move speed, AoE slow at the end of that. It's a great early tank item to buy, and more you're seeing tanks switch away from the damage items, or at least Maokai's not going for that. Ooh, Command Shockwave, it's on a Prototype White, couple or auto attacks. It's all it's going to take. Shorter Race, not in time, gets his ultimate canceled. It's going to be a very big fight for Storm. We're going to see an attempt to disengage there for Rule 18 with Short Race. He's got too much sustain. Can they take down the Wonder Kid of Washington? No. He's going to be able to disengage back to back, but a big gnarl up against the wall. Lorelo may have some damage reduction, but will it be enough? Gate's going to pop off the back line, and Shorter Race, he'll finally go down. It's Rux and Rule 18 against the world, but Rux comes out on top. He finishes things off with a triple kill. The Mandatory Cloud is not going down without a fight. Finishes that fight at 3-1, but overall team fight win for Final Five.
Definitely a great disengage by Jaina just in case they needed to get out of there. But then Gnar from behind, Rux, excuse me, it was incredible that he came in just at the opportune moment. Did he teleport in even? No, he didn't, but he was definitely there to give that ultimate back. And that was just a trading of ultimates there, starting with the Command Shockwave from Orianna.
Rule 18 might be a little bit out of position, but like we said, no Rod of Ages, not as much damage as you'd expect from Maokai. Actually, might be in a little bit of trouble with Prototype White coming in. Got a lot of crit coming his way. Lorelo, though, it does have a decent amount of tank stats, starting to stack up that armor. Just in time for Dragon number 2 coming alive.
We'll see if Jinx can capitalize on that critical hit score on this Dragon. Perhaps we'll see a snipe from him with the rocket. Don't know what's going to happen, but it looks like Storm is definitely going to lose this dragon again.
Fighting over the wards, battle of the century, not even over an objective, but overall we are going to have a lot of sweepers there. Final Five need to watch out about getting poked away. That's one of the reasons Corki is such a highly contested AD carry. Whoa,
flash,
aggressive.
twisted advance in by Maokai.
He's going to be able to start the fight, but can they finish it? Doom Trouble bit off a little bit more than he could shoot. Command Shockwave hits onto 3, but overall just way more damage coming back from Final Five. Summoner Heal, going to get Prototype White into the fight. Not able to find any more kills off the back of that. Jungler down for Storm means that Final Five will have an easier dragon. They'll pick up their second dragon of the game, giving them increased pushing power. Just means they deal 15% addition. No! Prototype White walks into the bush of death. Mandatory Cloud coming up with his 4th kill of the game.
Before that, I would have said the game is definitely going in Final Five's favor. How do you think that Storm's going to turn this around?
I don't understand. There's a big discrepancy, let's put it that way. Mandatory Cloud kind of against the world. He's got the most kills, he's making the biggest impact. He finished that team fight. His team lost the fight. And then he's just like, what if we could just pick up a little bit extra? So he surprised out of the bushes, grabs another kill. He's already bottom lane pushing the turret, and he's got the support from Lorlo that he needs, the other lane that's winning for Storm, push down another turret. Second one of the game. So really, even though Final Five might have won that fight, as far as objective control goes, really good decision making and positioning there by Mandatory Cloud, be able to clean up an objective off the bat.
It's pretty even on towers despite the 3-2 difference. I mean, and the monetary score is getting to be pretty equal as well. Still 4K behind of Final Five. We'll see a team fight here bottom.
One of the big differences I was looking at was between the AD carries. Whoa, Prototype White not looking around the corner. Didn't even need the command Shockwave. Lorlo going in way too hard. Prototype White not the most mobile. AD carry pick with Jinx, and he pays for it. Twisted advance on in. It's about the easiest way to take down an AD carry. So they'll pay for that. Making a 4-on-5 power play here for Storm. We'll see if they can capitalize on an objective of their own, but things don't look good. They pick up a kill and then just back right on.
A full team back here. It looks like Mandatory Cloud is really taking control here, especially with ultimates and the proper placement here. They just keep catching Prototype White out.
And that's something you mentioned earlier on, Chase, in the pick and ban phase, how that ultimate, it may not be a big burst ultimate like, a Syndra ult, maybe LeBlanc's Wombo combo, but it can turn around team fights. And while we have seen Mandatory Clouds ult do just that, we've seen guys like Rux use his Gnar ultimate. I always find it weird to refer to Gnar's ultimate, because it's like Gnar used Gnar, and you're never sure if you're talking about the champion or the ultimate, but he's been turning team fights around too. So a lot of big AoE things to keep an eye on, but at least for the last 4 or 5 minutes, it's more been about just skirmishing one champion being kicked off again and again. Man, they'll always involve Valkyrie out there. Vex speaking.
Gets the stun.
Gonna go for the all-in through the turret, actually. Shorter Ace there for the kill, his second of the game. Going for that infinite duress. Didn't need it infinitely. Just a couple seconds to take it down XP King.
Fantastic finish there, even with the tower dive. We see Final Five getting a lot more confident, a lot more aggressive, especially with the tower dives too. And even from top lane, you see Gate helping out a lot. Nars completely switched almost, and I think we're starting to end the laning phase here.
Yeah, and while Shorter Ace may hate trolls, he apparently loves wolves. Very, very strong Warwick stats there. 2-2-9 versus the Doom Trobo's Vi, who, while very pivotal to his team composition, definitely not having a good day on that champion, 0-4-3, relying mostly on the rest of his team to follow up with the engage, whereas he's kind of the suicide bomber. He's got the ball on top of him, but not a lot of stats to keep him protected, although they will engage onto Rux. Gates coming in to back him up here. Will Rux get out alive? He's stacking up towards that Mega Gnar form. If he can change in time, could turn the team fight around.
Looks like they're just going to back here. Oh, Maokai engages.
A little bit of a bait attempt there by Gate. He's going to go into the fight, and the pause comes out right in the middle. I'm not sure who's having the issue.
Who sanctioned that pause? That's right in the middle of the battle.
Well, you can tell that Baby Eater is way out of the fight, so I'm not sure if he's running away because he doesn't want to die, or if maybe he's having a few lag issues. So yeah, it is Baby Eater with a little bit of DC action right in the middle of the fight. The XP Cake just got hit by some very high damage wild cards. You can see Zonya's actually complete for Gate, and the big bait by Gate in the middle lane. If I had to rate, never mind. Anyway, it's a good bait by the mid lane. Twisted Fate playing. Oh my gosh. He got way out of position, immediate engage by Lorlo, and then they're like, wait a second, we could just kill the Twisted Fate. He's like, just kidding. And he flips it over, activates his trap card, and then they're caught actually a little bit out of positioning. Lorlo is a tank. He does have that Frozen Heart completed. I'm not sure he's up to 1v5 quite yet. And without that Soraka in the fight, XPK doesn't have the health coming back his way to stay that far forward either. He's going to be going for that Valkyrie to get out of dodge, but the big ultimate that we have not seen used, I can't tell if Mandatory Clouds actually used his ult yet or not. I think he paused maybe right as that started. Maybe I missed that, but it's something to watch out for as soon as we unpause, which should have a lot of things happening all at once. Taking a little bit of a break while Baby gets back in.
But despite Rux being caught out of position there, we have the immediate gate teleport in. I mean, it was really incredible how they just turned around that bad positioning, and now all of a sudden, as you can see by the pause screen, Storm's the one who's caught in pretty awful position.
Yeah, and while I like big games, I cannot lie. We'll see if Baby got back into the game safely. It does look like that is the case, and so we'll have to, I don't know, cheer him on. There we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's underway. Lorlo, like we said, way out in front. Valkyrie successful. There's the shockwave we were looking for. And Rux can pick off a kill. Now Prototype White is going to get those resets. He's excited. The rest of his team is too. They're chasing things out. The flash in, going for the zap there. Hits Baby underneath the turret. His boomerang's going to land. But nothing else. He'll stay alive. Unfortunately, not the case for Doom Trobo and Lorlo. Some heals coming back out from Rule 18. Look at that damage from Mandatory Cloud. Keeps Gate a little bit more honest, and we'll keep the turret alive for just a little bit longer.
Pretty incredible as Baby Eater coming back into the game. I would have been pretty, stop and go after that pause or disconnect or whatever it was. I mean, he almost died there. It was incredible that he got out alive. Again, Jinx with that movement speed. Again, slow mobility there. Couldn't quite finish the kill.
Yeah, unfortunate. He did have, the resets from his Get Excited, but wasn't quite excited enough to be able to close the gap there. Did pick up 2, and you can still see the kill count start to widen. We're at 14 to 8 right now, and a 5,000 gold advantage, slowly but steadily rising higher. Chance of precipitation, chance of storms maybe a little bit lower than it was about 15 minutes ago, and we started to see maybe some signs of life, specifically Mandatory Cloud. Came off to a great start to the game, but still looking to keep those kills coming his way. His ultimate, that last team fight, only hit onto, I believe it was either Rux or maybe Shorter A's. It just really didn't have quite as much of a presence as we've seen him have before. Although as the game does progress, the chance of wombo combos and the damage that's going to be done by those does increase. Things like Death Cap being bought there from Mandatory Cloud. We'll make it kind of do or die. If he hits a good ultimate, they win the fight. If he doesn't, there's not a lot of places to look for damage on Storm.
It looks like Jaina's got Mejai's Soul Stealer there with 12 assists and 1 kill, 0 deaths. Really, team is playing a great game here.
And ordinarily, I'd be super impressed. Whoa! Almost Doom Trouble to flash over the wall. Prototype using his flash aggressively to get into that. But where's this gate? He's gonna go. He's gonna pour it into the middle lane? Where is he going?
Did he cancel it?
No, he actually went bottom to farm.
Ah.
I was like, wait. Oh my. Okay, no.
Pretty exciting ultimate there.
Yeah, he's just trying to rain on my parade. Although I guess that's more Mandatory Cloud's department. And to be honest, parade's got a few people in it. They're playing the drums. They're actually pretty excited, and I'm really excited to see Gate. The only thing that maybe making me a little bit less excited about that comes from the 3rd dragon. I mean, taken by Final 5. Shorter Ace will pick that one up, or rather take it down for 5% extra move speed for everyone on the team.
My favorite dragon buff is the 3rd one, that universal movement speed, especially with Jaina on the team as well. There's just so much mobility in team fights too. Chasing potential is up there. It's incredible, and you can even see from Final 5 that they're really just, the confidence is there, the item builds are there. They're really taking control of this game.
Yeah, 16-8, now doubling up in the score, but you can't really look. It's kind of ironic. The big numbers may tell you the smallest story, because the real story that's coming out right now is the global objectives, tied up now at 3-3. Final 5, of course, looking to make a big chunk in that. Teleport coming into the bottom lane off of an engage by Doom Trobo. Actually a successful defense of that bottom 2nd tier turret by Team Storm.
Definitely a good TP there. Defending the objectives, again, you might see 16-8, but the towers are 3-3. The money remains pretty, relatively equal, not super equal, but I mean, it's really a fight for the objectives at this point.
And it's kind of ironic to, well, I hate the word ironic because it's almost impossible to use correctly. It's interesting to notice. I love the English language. The Gnar, Rux, got super camped early on. He was in Struggleville, but he was able to turn his struggles into, I don't know, snuggles, whatever rhymes with struggle. I don't know. Because now he's 6-2 and 4, and with the best score on the team. So got to give him credit for going through a rough period of time early, but putting it where it counts. He's had some big ultimates. I think he used his last ultimate very ineffectively, but we have seen good ults in fights, and he's going to be the small version, mini mandatory Cloud, going for a lot of AoE crowd controls to turn big fights in their favor.
Everyone's just farming again here, and I really think the turnaround by Rux was incredible. He hasn't died since that second gank from Vi. And I mean, again, Vi hasn't had that great game since. I mean, her jungle presence is there, but she hasn't done anything in team fights worth really noticing.
Yeah, it's kind of questionable. You go for this big Vi pick, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be going for aggressive engages. But every time he goes in, the window where he wouldn't just insta-die closed pretty quickly when he started to get behind 0-2, 0-3. Now 0-6 is just going to get a higher death toll. A lot of damage coming his way. Even if it's not off the mid lane burst. Whoa, big Valkyrie backwards. Flame Chopper's going off. They will catch Lorelo. Get a lot of damage reduction on there. Dive back onto Prototype White. But do they have the damage to finish the job? Huge command Shockwave. A double kill for Mandatory Cloud. Gates running for his life. He's got the Ghost on, trying to make it out alive. But look at Rux. He's going to bounce on in. Gets the Gnar against the wall. A triple kill for Mandatory Cloud. And XP Gake's going to pick up the ace for Team Storm.
Wow, that was incredible. Storm, again, coming at the end there, just really finishing off the kill. You can see Vi with no health, Corki no health. I mean, they were about to die. That was close. I think that really came down to Warwick not necessarily being able to finish, but the great presence of Vi just going straight for Jinx on that team fight with her ultimate.
Yeah, Shorter Ace got given the D to put on the end of his name to make it Shorter Aced, just like the rest of his team. Now the gold count very, very different from what we've seen previously. Final 5 still in the lead, but now only by 2,000-3,000 gold. Really closing the gap, and like we said earlier, it's on Mandatory Cloud. He hits those God ults, I think it was like a 3-man ult into a distortion right underneath it, like 7-1 and 4, definitely the score that he needs, and really going hero mode this fight. You got the same attempts at that performance. Rux at the end of that fight, combined with Shorter Ace, almost turned it around. Had a big Gnar into the wall, infinite duress on there, but Infinity apparently just not long enough. And the ultimate team fight win, quite literally, for Storm.
Tell you what, Mandatory Cloud we were talking about again, and we'll keep talking about this Shockwave ultimate coming from Orianna here. It seems like Mandatory Cloud has so much damage early on. That 7-1 and 4 just has such great item builds here. You got the death cap on top. It was incredible. Like, it turned the tide of the battle, not just with the crowd control, but with the damage as well.
And, you always have your super nitpicky players out there that are like, Mandatory Cloud built in its unholy grail, and the best item in the game right now is Morellonomicon. But it doesn't matter when you've got that score. So maybe making a case for a somewhat outdated item. It's getting a little bit of love here in the upcoming 4.21 patch, a little bit more mana regen coming in. So you might not see quite as dominant a performance by the Morellonomicon. Ironically, having another item buffed against it, maybe Morellonomicon won't be quite seen as much. It is definitely a good item to buy early on, and it will be getting a little bit of a nerf. 10% less base mana regen stat coming. So instead of 60% like it has now, it'll be down to about 50%, I believe. Or at least the components will be changed, or have their cooldowns changed.
Speaking of the new items, I saw Lorelo there looking a little big as Maokai. What do you think about the new elixirs?
You know, elixirs I always want to see, and I'm sure some, random Korean team's going to do this, where your very first back, you pick up 5 elixirs of ruin and just go 2-shot a turret somewhere. I think that'd be super cool, maybe not very viable, but definitely involved in some, random cheese strats. That is the elixir that he has picked up. 25% bigger. I want to see a lot of Lulus and Maokais in my game, or not Maokais, but things like Lulus, Nunus, Cho'Gaths, stuff that gets really big, because that's what it does. It also gives you a little bit more tank stats, helps you kill turrets more quickly. Interesting pickup, but that's kind of what it does. We'll see if we can put it to use.
Yeah, Cho'Gath with that elixir on 6 stacks would be pretty incredible. I don't know exactly how big the model has to be.
Yeah, when it first came out, I remember seeing a video on Reddit of just how big can we make one champion. The answer is pretty big.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it looks like, almost with the steal there from Prototype White, but it looks like Storm will have their first dragon of the game.
Yeah, Shorter Ace putting on his boxing glove and he's punching a wall. Not as successful as he'd want, but instantaneous silence there by Soraka keeps Shorter Ace from channeling his full ultimate. He's gonna get over the wall by Doomtro. Well, finally getting himself in there for some kills. XP cake, absolutely huge. Prototype White trying to get out to the back, but he is gonna go down. Lorlo gets the last second heal. And even though it's mitigated by that those grievous wounds from the Relonomicon, he's still able to stay alive in a big fight there for Storm. They're fighting back. They may be down in kills and a whole lot of other stats, but you wouldn't know it looking at the way that they fight.
That was incredible. Just the life left on Soraka had to be somewhere near 10 HP. Yeah, I mean, that was the last-minute heal there to save him, and just the plays with Vi through over the wall, jumping to Warwick to finish him. Just, I mean, really great. And that was definitely to turn the tide again. Storm is making a slow comeback, and with every dragon comes every team fight, and every team fight's going in their favor just these last couple minutes.
Exactly. When it rains, it pours. It was a little bit of a dry spell earlier, but it's definitely kind of raining on Final Five's parade so far. It's 16-9, like we said, not very indicative of exactly how the game's going, because you just saw Doom Trouble. He's picking up kills now. You're just like, what? The guy was 0-6, now 2-6. So big turnaround in his department, and more. Look at the items that are starting to come out. An early Quicksilver Sash for Mandatory Cloud. You can't lock that guy down anymore. And at this point, you start to realize that when your champion choice can be completely nullified by one item, probably not going to have a good time. So the struggles of being Warwick, gonna be a little bit larger if he wants to put some pressure on a Mandatory Cloud. You even saw in that last fight, Shorter Ace was trying to do damage to Lorlo, who's just way too tanky. Frozen Heart means not a whole lot of damage coming his way from Lorlo.
Maokai only just gets harder and harder to kill, and it seems like Warwick just does less and less damage as the game begins to scale up. I mean, Warwick's ultimate didn't even do much in that team fight, and when you single out one-on-one there with that ultimate, it really doesn't do much unless the rest of the team is ready to go.
Right, and that's exactly the problem with the last team fight. Shorter Ace went in and the rest of the team wasn't quite ready to go. Who was ready to go was Baby Eater. Immediate silence on there, and Shorter Ace goes a little bit too far in. He couldn't get out of there because of the silence. Baby Eater really just locking him down, and they're with a kill onto Shorter Ace means the turrets are going to fall. Objective control now going in favor of Storm. Might be looking for a Baron after a mid lane turret kill.
Yeah, this would be an opportune time to go Baron. I don't know what the site is on Final Five, but this would be a good moment. They're clearing all the wards, making sure it's safe.
Yeah, and they actually can't see anything inside the Baron pit now. Finally coming out of that mid lane rush, making their presence known out there.
Looks like they may go for it here.
Yeah, and of course will be unseen by Final Five, looking to maybe turn that around. Doom Trouble, you can see him charging up that Vault Breaker. He wants to go in, but unfortunately.
And they go in here, but I think a little bit of a delay. I think Final Five knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, if they have any doubt, Gate could just ultimate, except he's already used it, and though Final Five wind up not engaging into a bad situation, they'll be going in for one afterwards. Now Baron buff. All that gold regen, and actually, take it back. No more regen, just the aggressive stats. But more importantly, Baron buff is incredibly impactful in the game. Even though we'll see that player play a little bit later on under a different name, Baron buff makes it so easy to just to walk down the lane and win. You give your cannon minions 800 extra range, so I think it's like 1,050 range. That range turret. They just sit back there, keep poking away. You have to go out and deal with them, which is going to be increasingly more difficult. Final Five get into.
Yes, and with that Baron buff, they can either play it cautiously, not lose any more objectives, or they can really start to attack the inner turrets here. Only one outer base turret left for each team.
The Shorter Ace is going for a wit's end, which may be where he is at as far as his build is concerned. At his wit's end, not necessarily an item that's going to get you out of the rough situations he's finding himself in. And that's kind of the struggle of being Warwick. Do you go for that one-shot build like Wit's End, Blade of the Ruined Kings? You got a lot of on-hit damage. Or do you go for like the more tanky, I'm going to assist the rest of my team? I feel like that's kind of a struggle for Warwick, because either he one-shots the AD carry with a new jungle item, or it kind of just dies. I mean, nobody's going to tell you about the effectiveness of Warwick just, auto-attacking Maokai for 100 years. It's just not going to happen.
See, Warwick tank worked well when Prototype White was in the lead by a significant margin, at least with his overall KD, but now it looks like it's getting more even. Prototype White not quite doing the damage he was doing earlier in the game, and with Maokai just leading the charge with that 25% plus size as well. He just keeps getting bigger.
He is a very, very big tree. 4, 4, and 10. Now the tank items there, and he's putting them to use. Now, it's kind of interesting to see, okay, it's not a big mystery. You pick up a Quicksilver Sash versus a Warwick, but Prototype White actually has a QSS of his own, and that's a little bit weird because he's facing knockups from Lorlo, knockups from Doom Trobo, knockups from Mandatory Cloud's Ultimate. You can't cleanse those with QSS. What you really want is a Banshee's Veil, so you can block those out from even starting on you. However, he will be able to get away from any slows. He'll be able to. I don't think he can actually cleanse the silence from Baby Eater either. That was what happened last game. He got silenced and couldn't flash out in time. That's why his flash is still up. And so I don't think you can QSS that either because you're standing in a silence field. So we'll see what he does wind up using that QSS cooldown. Might be super impactful. We'll have to see as the turret defense intensifies. Final 5 looking to keep the base alive.
And there's that 600 range from the Baron buff, or was it 600? That cannon is
800.
800, even farther
range.
than that, and it's just now taken down by Nars fans. There we had a brief delay here. Baby Eater again lagging, slight a bit. He didn't quite disconnect, but they did pause the game for about 10 or 20 seconds.
And this is the thing about Baron buff. It puts such pressure on the lane you're pushing. That's why when you go for like a 1-3-1 strategy, having 3 minion waves impacted by Baron buff is just so devastating to deal with. But going for the 5 alive, group up mid, push it in. Strategy effective for Team Storm, but haven't managed to crack that mid lane turret just yet. Next minion wave is going to be able to do it, but might be looking for an engage over the wall. It'd be a rough task to ask the rest of Storm to follow him up. So Trovo backs out alive, but very low.
I'll tell you what, my favorite part about the new minion buff from the Baron is the ability to split push. Just your minions can soak up so much more damage from that turret and do so much more damage.
Oh, Mandatory Cloud is going to get the damage off on a short range. Immediate QSS into the Wombo combo kill. Doom Trobo able to pick that one up. Prototype White can't QSS the knockup. So he's going to go down. Just used it, but unfortunately that item pickup not going to help him stay alive. It was Shorter Ace down. Prototype White down. Only going to be Gate and Rux with wave clear to try to keep this turret alive. The Janus Shield gives a little bit of extra HP, but at the end of the day, it's 38 minutes in, and the first inhibitor of game goes to Team Storm.
Just like we were saying, the final 5 jungle with Warwick scaling up, he's not doing a great job here with positioning. And it's again, he went in, and maybe what, 1 or 2 other guys were with him. I didn't see a full 5-on-5 when Storm was in the correct position, and they almost in 3 seconds just cleaned the table.
Yeah, keep catching Shorter Ace out just a little bit. And like Warwick doesn't have any moderate options. Either he's all in with his ultimate or he's trying to kite backwards. He doesn't just like kind of go halfway into the fight and come halfway out. Not sure Rux can beat this dragon here. It's gonna be close. I think eventually he'll be able to, yeah, here's some help from Rule 18. Gonna help DPS it down. And that will be another dragon coming the way of Final 5. Now, Final 5 may be the number of dragons that it takes to win them the game. They have 4 Dragon Slayer buffs on them right now. That's 15% extra damage to turrets. I think they could have used that maybe a little bit earlier on. Now Gate using that Gate to figure out the destiny of, well, his destiny. Top lane is a little bit overpushed. Making sure he is going to stay alive and scout out everyone on Team Storm. So nice little forecast, looking to see what is in store for them. It looks like it's a second tier bottom turret.
I like that move by Rux to kind of sneak away into the corner and steal the dragon. I mean, they didn't have any wards up, and Soraka was the only closest person. There's no way she was going to be able to do anything about it. And especially when this game's just getting closer and closer in money and in kills, I think that 5th dragon can really come into play because it almost is like 3/4 to a Baron buff, doubling every stat of the previous 4 stacks. I mean, that's incredible. I don't think we can say all that.
Exactly.
The impact it has.
I love to see stats from like LOL King or somewhere about a number of teams that have lost games after getting 5 dragons. Like, it's only so difficult to click on the enemy nexus. And while I've been in a lot of teams who seem to be incapable of doing that, in professional competitive play, there's not too many ways of stopping a 5 dragoned up team The true damage on hit, the doubling of every other Baron buff stat, or Dragon buff stat. I'm saying Dragon buff. But when you get all 5, safe to say, it's not quite a shoo-in, but it does make you a whole lot stronger.
I'm really interested to see, and you were talking about this earlier, the change perhaps from Riot Games in the next patch of the Dragon buffs. I'm really curious to see what ends up there. I haven't quite looked at the notes yet.
It doesn't last quite as long, and it's only 6% from the first Dragon stack. And they also, big command shockwave! Immediate Zonya's there from Gage, shorter Ace, trying to stay alive. He's forced to flash out. He actually uses his ultimate to get back there. The dive onto Gage. Can they keep him down? Yes, Doom Trouble is going to flash in there. Gets a nice little shield from Locked Down and Solari to stay alive. There's shorter Ace going down. Prototype White in the back is going to throw out a super mega death rocket. Only lives up to the first 2 parts of his name. The flash backwards, can't see what's going on there because we're still waiting out there at the turret. Brooks, one more auto attack to pick up the kill, but look at those heals coming in from Soraka. Oh my god, Baby Eater eats one too many turret shots and he'll go down. Look at the health bars after that fight. A full ace. It's going to be a, I guess, taller ace there for Final 5 as they go down. Maybe looking to close out the game here. XP Cake, he's got a big super minion wave pushing in. Is this the game? Final 5 dominated for the first 20-30 minutes, but with shockwaves like mandatory clouds, he turned this game right round. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a victory for Team Storm, almost off the back of mandatory cloud, with an incredible first game in the NACL for this roster. You got to give some major props to them. They did not forecast that victory at all, and like I said, just an incredible game for them. Final 5 showing maybe some weaknesses. Warwick strong early, weak late game, but like I said, overall incredible game by Storm.
Yeah, basically I have to give the game to both mandatory cloud and and the support game too. Rule 18 did a great job, but Baby Eater, despite the disconnections, those silences, every single one was in the center, on point. The Orianna, she used V with the ball, not enough, I don't think, well, definitely enough to win, but with the ultimates coming from Orianna, that command shockwave, that was incredible to see. Every
single time, and Final 5 just really didn't play around the Orianna shockwave. Mandatory clouds, like, if you're going to stand on top of it, I'm a big fan of that. And while, there may have been a lot of big fans of Final 5 after that, specifically maybe of shorter Haste, his Warwick looked good early on, but at the end of the day, even though Doom Trobo had a rough start to the game, finished it off with a lot of great engages, and maybe now Team Storm with a few fans of their own. Most specifically, it's just good to see Mandatory Cloud back in the competitive scene and putting out huge performances like that.
Definitely. That was a great game, opening game. I really enjoyed to see a battle, shifting one way towards the other. The real question to me, and we're already here about to set up the next game for bans, do you think Orianna's going to be banned here?
I would definitely expect to see that. Keep in mind, this is a single elimination bracket tournament, so in this first best of 3, if you lose, then you're out of the tournament and no longer have the chance to come here to play at the AFK Gamer Lounge in San Jose. It's going to be $15,000, like we said, on the line for the prize pool. But you got to make top 3 to be able to get it. So excited to see how this next game is going to play out. Before we get into that, we're going to head out to a quick commercial break. So don't go anywhere. Hope you guys are enjoying the NACL Winter Playoffs. It's good to be back. Hopefully you guys will be back with us here as we get into game number 2.